time again in 1992. Actually, the last 2 or 3 years, it's been healthy. It's been a back to basics time, and a time for artists and bands to be creative and, you know, and be inventive, you know. And I guess within the last 3 years, and but it's a really good time for everybody who wants to, you know, be inventive.
It's more about the music, you know, now, as opposed to, during the 80s it seemed to go more towards the image. It was mostly bands with pretty boys in the band and lots of makeup and hairspray getting signed and stuff, and thank God that's all over with. You know, it's really back to being about the music. Some people have complaints like, you know, oh, the bands, you know, they look like, they dress like, you know, the lumberjack son or something with flannel shirts, but really I think it's great because everybody's kind of just being themselves and being honest.
Yeah, it's kind of more generic, you know what I mean? I mean, I feel it was really kids being totally disgusted with being dictated to by, you know, like the big corporate, you know, machine and, you know, the radio and this and that. Kids like nowadays, especially with the way the world is, there's a real immediacy and urgency where people want music that that they can kind of call their own and kind of acts as kind of a salvation for themselves, because the world's it's a real chaotic, crazy time now with the downfall of the world economies and just you know, everything is kind of like out of whack, you know? And people really need something that they can kind of grasp onto and call their own, and so that's why I think, you know, I mean, a lot of the bands that were more of subcultural at one point are the dominant force in music now. Bands like Metallica and, you know, Nirvana and people like that. Right?
Yeah! It's great to be here in London tonight at the Brixton Academy, of course. This goes out to Gloria and Nick and to John Giddings. Take a seat, Jay! Watch out,
Cycles too, you know. It seems like the music business has gone through a lot of phases, just like the world does. You know, everything goes in a cycle. What comes around goes around. You usually end up going full circle, and it starts all over again. So I guess the '90s is just, you know, that point where everything's coming back around. The '60s, everything was real honest and open, and then in the '70s and the '80s, it got to be more about big shows and, you know, big productions and stuff. And now it seems like it's just come full circle, like everything's getting back to the honesty point.
Yeah, remember, rock and roll radio.
Choose. I mean, if you want to play dance music, you can play dance. If you want to play rap music, you can play. I mean, everything's acceptable now.
And it's accepted by all different crowds too. It's not like you have heavy metal kids and you have punk kids and you have kids that are into rap and kids that, you know, are into house music. It seems like the youth is just starting to unite on, you know, under a single. Like if you're a music fan these days, you're a music fan. You're not limited to what, you know, one type of music. People don't get on you as much.
It's always been that way with the Ramones as far as our fans. I mean, we have a real extreme broad crowd, and it's always been the metal kids and the thrash, hardcore, punk, alternative. You know, I mean, it's really whatever you like. You know, I mean, like our fans are, you know, it's the total spectrum. You know, and also it's as far as color, it's the total spectrum. There's no division. You know, I mean, a lot of bands. Yeah, a lot of bands have one set fan. A lot of metal bands have just metal fans. Our fans are into everything, you know. And they're young, 16, I guess the average age nowadays. And they're older, and they're whatever they are.
That's right.
Well, the Ramones are real. I mean, we're real people, and we're, you know, I mean, our lyrics are, you know, we have something to say, you know, and but at the same time, we're a multi-dimensional band. I mean, us, you know, we're not into any set thing. Our songs are about all kinds. They're about life, basically. You know what I mean? And it's real feelings and emotions and experiences, you know. And our music is, I mean, we're purists when it comes to, you know, rock and roll. I mean, it's like, you know, the Ramones are an exciting band. We're originals and originators. We're responsible for the whole punk explosion, let's say. And, which, you know, I mean, when we came to England back in 1976, and the Ramones were the inspiration for the English bands, you know, and it's from '76 with the English bands to Metallica to Nirvana and all these groups now. And basically they've all kind of adapted and adopted our trademark sound as their foundations and injected their own selves to create their own styles and their sound. But I mean, if you listen to all these bands, you hear the Ramones in every one of them. You know?
Gimme, shock,
Also, always kind of counted on the Ramones for fun. You know, always, even with the serious things, it seems like always the way the songs are worded and stuff, it was always kind of comical. Like, you know, they'd always poke fun, even at like the President with Bonzo Goes to Bitburg, you know, and I think that's one thing that before I was even in the band, that I really enjoyed about the Ramones was it was always fun. I mean, just listening to some of the lyrics, it's just, some of them are so funny, you know, but there is a meaning, there is a serious meaning behind them. And that kind of made it, you know, it's like double the enjoyment, you know, because you can relate to it, but it's, you know, it's fun, it's still a good time, it's still entertainment. And that's what music really is all about, after all. It's a form of entertainment.
I mean, like when we started out, everybody was so serious, you know, like, you know, because we came off the heels of, say, like the Vietnam War in America. But, you know, I mean, everybody's really full of themselves, real kind of stuffy, like, you know, Dylan and Don't Buy Everything and this, and everybody was, you know, I mean, one thing that we all share is that we have kind of a dark sense of humor about us. You know, I mean, and it's really, I mean, there was fun was missing from music back when we started. I mean, but you know, that kind of dark sense we all, you know, share.
You better take the goodness at your own life. Before you go bring it up there. You're the position of opportunity. It's the position there. It's your own ability. But it's you. We ain't got so far, but to learn to do. If I not get you, it's in the big market. I give a come now. Into the city now. And start to stop for open. I'll show you when it's time to be free. Give a come now. It's supposed to come over with and bring up the see. So hope it. See if I hear again. And I know I'm dead, I'm dead for I did what I got to do. I did what I need to do. I did what I got to do. It's the most number one thing to do. I want to live. I want to live my life. I want to live. I want to live my life. As I know I did so, yeah, I'm fine to everything. I never thought I would have done it. I'm everything, but I know I will do it. It's a beginning. I say it's a truth. I'm on it. I did what I got to do. I did what I need to do. I did what I got to do. It's a bonus of the wrong thing to do. I want to live. I want to live my life. I want to live. I want to live my life. Yeah, that's right. I don't think I'm on it. I'm so close to river. I heard of a fear. And as you watch me out to it, it disgust me. Drinking out the side of the
Around 74 when we started up, like one song would last the full side of an album. You know, I mean, we were, you know, the songs we grew up on, you know, like, well, me and John anyway, because we're older than CJ. But, and John's older than I am. But, you know, I mean, all the best songs were, if you couldn't do it in 3 minutes, don't bother. You know what I mean? Like, whether it be the Beatles, or the Stones, or the Who, or whoever it was, you know what I mean? You know, things got totally self-indulgent, you know what I mean? With the keyboard solos, and the drum solos, the guitar solo, all the bullshit, you know what I mean? So basically what we did was kind of disassemble it all and reassemble it and put the guts and fun and spirit and color and, you know, and all the good stuff back and all the good, great elements and give it a good kick in the ass and put it on, you know, on track.
She's a bit of a track shoe. I ain't a ranch over my mind. The whole fight in a very time. Things are the chicken. I'm gonna go on a time. I got to lose this back to be high. The whole fight in a very time. And I can't wait to see tomorrow. And I can't wait to be city. I can't wait to see tomorrow. She goes to work. Over my shoulder, I feel like a bat. I feel her faces following me, so I know I'm gonna get free. And I can't wait to see my room. And I can't wait another day. I can't wait to see my room. She goes to work. Yeah. Oh, so good. I gave you the vibe. I feel afraid to fight with me, so I know I'll never get free. And I can't wait to see tomorrow. And I can't wait to be free. I can't wait to see tomorrow. Tomorrow she goes away. Yeah. it out. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Shit, I'm already shit. Hey, I'm already down. Yeah, shit, I'm already shit. Hey, I'm already
It's without sounding cliche or anything. I mean, there is a real love about what we do. And the Ramones are larger than us all as individuals, you know what I mean? And, you know, I mean, like, the reason you got into music in the first place was because you liked exciting music and you liked, I mean, the Ramones really are like nobody else. We're our own breed of band, and our fans are their own breed, and totally loyalists and diehard fanatics, and like the fans too kind of like keep you fueled and focused, you know, because a lot of times, I mean, well, we've been together like 18 years now, and
the bird out in the hole. Sorry.
You know, and you know, you don't. We're on the road all the time. I mean, we're a live band. We go out and play all the time. So, like, you know, of course, you're not always going to get along with everybody. And but when you get out and play, everything else seems kind of trivial. You know, when you get out and play, you forget about whatever it is that's bugging you, and you know, because the crowd is just that special. You know?
We get reminded every night. If you have a bad day on the road, once you step on stage, you know, that's it. You know why you're there. You know why you're still doing it. If we didn't play as often as we did, it would probably be a lot harder. But because we tour constantly, because we're always on tour, we constantly, we're out there in front of the people. When you step out onto stage, you have to be able to understand what we're trying to say. You have to picture it. You step out on stage in front of maybe 3,000, 4,000 people, and people are just losing their minds in front of you, you know, totally, you know, they don't do anything even close to this in their normal everyday life. When you see how much emotion you bring out of people by just being up there playing songs, it's like, hey, you know, that keeps you from wanting to play forever, you know? I mean, I could honestly play the rest of my life if I could, you know, get out on stage and feel like that every night.
Well, maybe just perhaps you remember Pet Cemetery!
1, 2, 3, 4!
From what I've been told by people who have been fans for a long time, they feel like this album is probably the best album since like Rocket to Russia. Not that, you know, the albums afterwards were bad albums or anything. It's a lot of people just said it sounds like, you know, you guys are a brand new band again. You know, like you can really feel, everybody was so excited about this record. When we went in, we were working with Ed, like I said before, again. You know, we were all going to be in the studio together for the first time and stuff, and I think the excitement that everybody felt came through in their playing, and Ed just really captured it and got it onto the record as we played it, and with as little, you know, as possible, and I think it really comes across as an exciting album. There's great songs on the record, we got a good producer, even the album cover is really cool, you know. It's just a good package, and it was a good time for us.
I could start my own right as a person and an individual. Always felt, as you know, I mean, I just like, I don't really, you know, think about it. I'm myself, and that's how I approach, you know. I don't go, oh, I'm a big star or any of that shit. I'm just me, basically, you know. I feel I'm grounded and, you know, I'm me. I don't want to be like anybody else, you know. I'm happy being myself. I don't want to be like Bono. Oh yeah, I'm real happy about what we accomplished and continue on to accomplish. And I mean, the Ramones are a unique band, and I mean, in some ways, you know, we haven't had that success the way some bands have. You know, the ones like Elton John and all that stuff. But I think we're probably more famous than they are.
What's up, baby? I'm gonna take a chance to her, I want to go to the center, and then I'm on the bus, get there in a cleanse, I'm gonna find out good and little, you're gonna get talking up the hill, and then I'm on the bus, get there in a cleanse, go, I can't see it,
At one point, or the dominant force in music now, bands like Metallica and Nirvana and people like that.
Yeah! It's great to be here in London tonight at the Brixton Academy, of course. This goes out to Gloria and Nick and to John Giddings. Take a seat, Jay! What's up,
It's more about the music, now, as opposed to, during the 80s it seemed to go more towards the image. It was mostly bands with pretty boys in the band and lots of makeup and hairspray getting signed and stuff, and thank God that's all over with. It's really back to being about the music. Some people have complaints like, oh, the bands, they look like, they dress like, the lumberjack son or something with flannel shirts, but really I think it's great because everybody's kind of just being themselves and being honest.
healthy time again in 1992. Actually, the last 2 or 3 years, it's been healthy. It's been a back to basics time, and a time for artists and bands to be creative and, you know, and be inventive, you know. And I guess within the last 3 years, and but it's a really good time for everybody who wants to, you know, be inventive. It's kind of more generic, you know what I mean? I mean, I feel it was really kids being totally disgusted with being dictated to by, you know, like the big corporate, you know, machine, and you know, the radio and this and that. Kids like nowadays, especially with the way the world is, there's a real immediacy and urgency where people want music that that they can kind of call their own and kind of acts as kind of a salvation for themselves, because the world's it's a real chaotic, crazy time now with the downfall of the world economies, and just you know, everything is kind of like out of whack, you know, and people really need something that they can kind of grasp onto and call their own, and so that's why I think, you know, I mean, a lot of the bands that were more of subcultural